It seems as though people have resurfaced or people have found a patent from Tesla from 2023. This patent is obviously very, very long, so you can go and read it all and have a browse through it in your own time, but let me just run through the most important elements from this. So key features include the environmental detection through various sensors, detecting temperature, humidity, and presence of pathogens, etc. It mentions customized sanitation routines, generating appropriate sanitation routines based on detected environmental conditions. It also talks about various sanitation methods, for example, utilizing HVAC systems, UV lighting, and steam generators. Automated processes, so automatically executing sanitation processes when people are not absent. And having an adaptive system, so adjusting sanitation methods whilst considering external weather, the vehicle usage, history, etc. So this tells me that Tesla have already considered how they will go about the cleaning of their robotaxi fleet. This is really interesting. This is really good news because obviously if you are having an autonomous driving fleet of vehicles, it would be very, very beneficial if you had a method, if you had a way of actually having those vehicles self-clean. So not only are they having a fleet of vehicles that are self-driving, but also self-cleaning. That means a few things. Firstly, Tesla then don't have to do the cleaning themselves. They don't have to have that extra maintenance cost. And I don't mean cost just with money, I mean cost in time and resources too. They're not having to herd, sounds like animals, they're not having to herd their fleet for cleaning like I suppose normal taxis would. The driver would have to maybe clean the vehicle or however it works. But actually these vehicles can be cleaned by themselves, which sounds really weird. And then they can probably have more actual time doing what they need to do to make money, carrying passengers around. And it talks about adaptive systems and customized sanitation routines, which is definitely interesting because I could imagine in some of the more busy areas, so I'm thinking some places in maybe California, maybe New York, maybe London, I don't know, wherever else, where there's a lot of people utilizing a robotaxi fleet, these vehicles will need cleaning, they will need sanitation on a much more regular basis. Whereas if you're thinking about a robotaxi fleet somewhere more rural, maybe they would need less cleaning. And then if you're thinking about in the summer, in the heat, lots of people sweating, that would need more cleaning. Or even maybe in the harsh winter when people are bringing snow into the vehicles and things like that. So this is great because Tesla are obviously a very high-tech, innovative company. They think outside the box. Elon is always thinking 5 steps ahead of everyone else. So to know that they were thinking about this and got a patent on this back in 2023, I think is ahead of the time. And I do think it won't just stop here. Along with the autonomous driving fleet, I think they will release, they will announce, they will have a lot of integrated other high-tech aspects of a robotaxi fleet. So they won't just be autonomous driving. They'll already be self-cleaning. There'll be other elements going on as well. And I've seen some comments on my videos when I've spoken about a robotaxi fleet in the past. I've seen some comments on X and within my Discord community, like people having a concern that, you know, one reason they wouldn't want to add their Tesla to a robotaxi fleet, you know, remember we can have Tesla-owned robotaxis and fleet owners where a customer can add or subtract their car to the fleet whenever they want to make money. A concern that people seem to have about doing that with their own vehicle is, well, what if it gets vandalized? What if it gets really dirty? What if it's really disgusting to have to clean out? But actually, this self-cleaning method, this self-cleaning technology that Tesla are considering, I think, for their robotaxi fleet, not that that's been confirmed, may actually help people become less concerned about the hygiene aspect of adding their vehicle to the fleet. Also, what I found interesting in this documentation, and I'm not saying that we should look too much into this or we shouldn't, because, you know, it's just an image within a document. At this stage, I don't think it means all that much. But I did see figures showing both a 2-seater vehicle, which I assume would be what the robotaxis will look like, but also I saw a configuration of a vehicle that's much larger, showing 4 seats in that car. So I am wondering if Tesla will actually come out maybe on the 8th of the 8th and show 2 different sized vehicles that can be utilized in the robotaxi fleet. I don't know, I'll leave that open to interpretation. I thought it was interesting. In other Tesla news, apparently we have a competitor that we should be keeping our eye on for the robotaxi, a robotaxi competitor. But let's talk about this and see what we actually think. A Croatian automotive manufacturer, Rimac, has announced that they are going to be producing a robotaxi under the project name Vern. You may never have heard of this company, Rimac, before. I hadn't until I heard that they were, a competitor to Tesla's robotaxi fleet. But maybe you have if you're really into your cars. They are probably most known for their electric hypercars. And they actually, interestingly, set a world record for driving an EV backwards at the quickest speed of 171 miles per hour. So let's talk about what we actually know. From what I can see, the concept that they are coming out with looks pretty similar to what we already know about Tesla's possible two-seater robotaxi, which obviously we saw prototype images from Walter Isaacson's book. There are some similarities between Tesla's robotaxis from what we already know and Rimac's version that they've announced as well. So some similarities include the fact that we could have both of them being two-seater vehicles. Now, I think that Tesla will absolutely have a two-seater robotaxi vehicle, and I think we'll see that announced on the 8th of the 8th. But obviously, we were just speaking about the self-cleaning system, and one of the images in that showed maybe a larger car and a two-seater. So we don't know exactly what's going to be announced, but I think a two-seater makes most sense because that's the majority of how people travel, themselves and maybe one other, rather than filling up an entire vehicle. So I think we'll see that. But also another similarity is a focus around a center screen. Both I think will have a very minimal appearance and unconventional door openings with the intention to minimize space use, kind of similar to what Tesla's Model X is now. And I also imagine the robotaxi app-based hailing system will be featured in both, because obviously you need some sort of app if you are going to actually run a functioning robotaxi fleet. Project Vern, or Rimac's robotaxi offering, is expected to begin operations in 2026. Which seems like a long way away, but we are going to soon be approaching the end of 2024, so 2026 really isn't all that far away, especially for a company who many haven't heard about before, and we'll talk about actually all this, I'll save this for later on, but for a company such as Rimac, and we'll talk about why this is important, why I don't think this is going to happen, basically, for them to be able to produce a robotaxi offering and a successful robotaxi fleet very, very soon. I don't think it's possible. And it's going to be a two-seater vehicle like we already mentioned, and they're going to be utilizing Mobile Eye's LiDAR technology. I know the way that us Brits say mobile is quite different to how you guys in the States say it. The vehicle will have level 4 autonomy apparently, and it's really important to recognize that Rimac won't be developing the technology themselves. Instead, they're going to be going about this by a collaboration, like I said, with Mobile Eye, and actually utilizing their LiDAR technology for the self-driving part of this. So Rimac themselves will only be doing the hardware for this, as far as I'm aware. It also looks like they are going to be having a keypad-based entry system. We're going to have to wait till the 8th of the 8th maybe to find out how Tesla are actually going to go about people getting in and out of the vehicles. But I think this will be different. I think that the Tesla Robotaxi will simply be a ride-hailing app on your phone, and maybe, with a quick PIN code or a click of a button, you can get access to the vehicle. They've already signed several agreements to actually launch this across 11 cities in the UK, the EU, and in the Middle East, and are currently undergoing negotiations with more than 30 cities worldwide. So it does seem like they are very, very serious about this, but let me just tell you my concerns. So let's think about what Tesla are doing or trying to achieve with their robotaxi fleet. And I'm not speaking about safety or convenience or anything like that. I'm speaking about how Tesla will be going after the mass market. They are going to make sure that they have a very, very cheap offering. Tesla are going to make sure that their robotaxi fleet, once up and running, is cheaper than people getting other public transport, so buses, taxis. It's going to be cheaper than the likes of Lyft or Waymo or Cruise or Uber, all these other options, whether they're autonomous driving vehicles or not. It's going to be the cheapest option. I don't know if Rimac are trying to go for the mass market, but I really don't think they're going to be able to achieve this. I don't think they're going to be able to make the cost of the traveling cheap enough, and I don't think they're going to be able to produce the vehicles at scale cheap enough. But that doesn't mean that there's not space in the market for a higher offering, a higher priced offering when it comes to autonomous robotaxis. But this does mean that if they carve out a place in the market for a higher priced offering, they have to be able to compete with Tesla in terms of maybe luxury. So it has to be more of a luxurious drive for the passengers. And whether or not they'll be able to do that, I don't know. I think Tesla's Cybercab and Tesla's Robotaxi will be pretty luxurious anyway. It's going to be very high tech, I think. It's not going to be like the best thing that you've ever traveled in. But if you just compare it to an average taxi, I do think it would be better in a lot of ways. But in terms of who is actually going to be able to get the majority of the market share, it's going to be whoever can offer this for the cheapest, for the customer. But the biggest difference really is the approach. Rimac is equipped with mobile eye technology, which combines cameras, radar, and LiDAR sensors. Whereas we know that Tesla is going about this using artificial intelligence plus cameras. Then you have to think which one of those approaches is better for mass production and scaling. But this all leads on to a much bigger question and a much bigger problem here. Rimac, so far to date, have not delivered many vehicles whatsoever. I'm talking about less than 200. So they definitely have not mass produced a car before. And it really does take immense scaling and immense manufacturing at a mass level to actually be able to have an up and running successful robotaxi fleet. And I would say this is one of the main competitive advantages that Tesla have. How do you mass manufacture a taxi vehicle, an autonomous taxi vehicle that will compete in market share with Tesla when you have never done that before? When you don't have the infrastructure in place, when you don't have the experience, when you don't have economies of scale. I just think this is like asking a snail to race a cheetah. It's not going to happen. And also, like I said, Rimac are only just getting into the autonomous driving space, whereas Tesla's been around this space for quite a long time. They've collected lots of data. They really understand what it takes from a hardware and a software perspective. They understand the approaches and the way that you actually scale this up. Then you add in their manufacturing experience on top of this, economies of scale, cost of goods sold, all of these things that are going to help them actually achieve this. I just think it doesn't make sense that there would be a competitor to this at this stage, and especially not a company that has never mass manufactured a vehicle before. You know, I do think the prototype looks good, and I do think there's room in the market for more than one robotaxi provider. But come on, this doesn't seem realistic at all. I'm going to keep a close eye because, you know, like I said, the prototype looks good, but making a prototype and making an autonomous vehicle at a mass scale, very different things. But do let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. If you want to watch these episodes ad-free, get exclusive and extended content and a bunch of other perks, become an insider of the Inner Circle Vault. Link in the description.